You want to be strong. You want to be disciplined. You want to endure. Then understand this. Nothing of worth is ever built by accident. It must be forged. It must be trained. Just like the body, your mind will not become sharp, steady, or resilient unless it is subjected to pressure. Daily, intentional pressure. Too many people want results without the process. They want peace without the pain. But listen, the mind is like a wild stallion. If you don't train it, it will run wherever it wants. It will trample your focus, your peace, your purpose. And you will be left wondering why everything feels out of control. But it's not the world. It's not your circumstances. It's the fact that you've allowed your mind to go untrained. Do you know what happens when a soldier steps onto the battlefield without preparation? He dies. He doesn't stand a chance. Yet you wake up every day and walk into the battlefield of life. Your responsibilities, your relationships, your temptations, without first preparing your mind, without first disciplining your thoughts, without first going to war against laziness, against distraction, against fear. And you wonder why you're losing ground. You must train your mind every single day. You must command it. You must set it like flint on what is good, what is true, what is eternal. Every day that you let your mind drift is a day you hand your power over to the enemy. And the enemy is not just the world outside. It's the voice inside that says, not today. It's the compromise that whispers, this one time won't hurt. It's the pride that says, I've got this, while you're crumbling on the inside. What are you feeding your mind? What are you meditating on? You don't drift into discipline. You don't stumble into strength. You wake up, you fight, you set your thoughts like soldiers in formation. You take captive every lazy idea, every fearful conclusion, every anxious assumption, and you say, no, you don't rule here. Truth rules here. Purpose rules here. There is no shortcut. This is the grind. This is the narrow road. And it's not walked by the comfortable. It's walked by those who have decided that ease will not govern their lives. That comfort will not be their king. That feelings will not dictate their faithfulness. Do not wait until you feel ready to train your mind. Do it when it's hard. Do it when you're tired. Do it when your emotions scream otherwise. Because every time you choose discipline over drift, you are not just training your mind, you are shaping your destiny. You are becoming someone who can carry weight, someone who can lead, someone who can finish the race, not just start it. You train your mind because it is the control center of your life. And if you lose it, you lose everything. But if you master it, you gain the power to face anything. Every single day matters. Every single thought matters. This is not optional. This is war. And the battlefield is in your head. So fight, train, soar, and don't stop. Discipline is intentional, not accidental. This truth must be driven deep into the core of anyone who desires strength, growth, or endurance. It does not matter how talented you are, how much potential people say you have, or what kind of dreams you carry in your heart. If you do not learn the discipline of the mind, you will collapse under pressure. And the mistake most people make is assuming that discipline is something that just happens. That one day you'll wake up and it will all make sense. That suddenly, without warning, you'll become focused, determined, and unshakable. But that day never comes because discipline is not something that lands on your lap like a gift. It is built through 1,000 intentional choices. People want a disciplined mind, but they don't want the discomfort that comes with forming it. They want mental strength, but they don't want to walk the path that forges it. There's no magic here. There's no secret formula. It's day after day of doing what your flesh resists. It's training yourself to push through when your body says stop. It's rising early when you'd rather sleep. It's showing up when every excuse feels justified. Discipline is born in that place of resistance. And the key is intentionality. Because no one drifts toward discipline. We drift toward ease. We drift toward distraction. We drift toward whatever is loudest and most comfortable. But the disciplined person sets their course and holds the line. Intentional discipline is not an event. It is a lifestyle. It is a lifestyle. It's built into the ordinary moments. It's found in the way you manage your time, the way you respond to setbacks, the way you deal with fear, with failure, with fatigue. The disciplined person has made a decision, a costly one, that they will not be ruled by emotions or circumstances. They have drawn a line in the sand that says, I will not wait to feel motivated. I will act based on conviction, not comfort. That decision doesn't happen once. It must happen daily, and it must be protected because everything around you will try to steal it from you. Look at anything that grows strong, an athlete, a soldier, a builder, a tree, and you will see a pattern. You will see process, structure, resistance, time, and care. No great thing comes without it. The same is true with your mind. If you want a sharp, focused, steady mind, then you must treat it as something that requires cultivation. You must set boundaries. You must feed it truth. You must protect it from noise. And you must be intentional every single day because the world is loud and your flesh is lazy, and your mind is always being shaped, either by you or by everything else. Intentionality also means knowing your why. You cannot aimlessly pursue discipline. That will not sustain you. You must know why it matters. You must see the cost of a weak mind, the missed opportunities, the fractured relationships, the compromised integrity. When you understand what is at stake, you stop treating discipline as optional. You stop bargaining with it, because a man who knows what he's fighting for doesn't look for shortcuts. He doesn't quit when it's hard. He digs in. He sharpens his focus. He chooses what's difficult today so he can stand firm tomorrow. And let me tell you, the world is not waiting for more clever people, more talented people, more charismatic people. The world is groaning for people of substance, people who can endure, people whose minds are anchored in truth, not tossed by opinion. And those kinds of people are not born that way. They are made. They are shaped in the quiet places of daily discipline, and it's not glamorous. It's not always visible, but it's always intentional decision to say no when everyone else is saying yes, to stay the course when everything in you screams to give up, to build structure when your flesh wants chaos. So stop waiting for the mood to strike. Stop fantasizing about the disciplined version of yourself and start building him brick by brick, day by day. Set your alarm, open the book. Write the plan, kill the distractions, get uncomfortable. Make the decision, not tomorrow, not next week, today, and then do it again and again, until discipline is no longer something you do, but something you are. An untrained mind leads to a defeated life. It doesn't matter how much passion you have, how many good intentions fill your heart, or how much you want to change your life. If your mind is not under control, you will be at the mercy of every emotion, every temptation, every lie, and every storm that life throws at you. The mind is the gatekeeper of your actions, your words, your choices. And when that gatekeeper is weak, confused, or passive, your life will reflect it. You will be like a city with broken walls, exposed, vulnerable, unable to withstand pressure. People often think the enemy is out there. The economy, their boss, their past, the people who hurt them. But in most cases, the greatest battles are fought and lost in the mind long before they ever show up in actions. Defeat doesn't begin with failure. It begins with a thought that was never challenged. It begins with the little voice that says, you can't, and the mind, instead of rising in truth, agrees in silence. And so compromise takes root. Fear becomes familiar. Procrastination becomes a habit. Bitterness becomes a comfort. And you start to live below your calling. You cannot afford to let your mind go unchecked, because whatever dominates your thoughts will eventually dictate your life. The lies you believe, the doubts you entertain, the shame you carry, all of it will become a filter through which you see everything. And when your mind is untrained, those lies feel like truth. That fear feels like wisdom. That bitterness feels like justice. You start calling weakness a being realistic. You start calling passivity a patience, on you lose your edge, not because you weren't gifted, but because you never trained your thoughts to align with what is true. A defeated mind doesn't always look dramatic. It can wear a smile. It can function in society, but inside it is fragmented. It is reactive. It is fragile. It is easily overwhelmed, easily offended, easily discouraged. You see this all around you. People who crumble under pressure, who quit when it gets hard, who follow every trend, who need constant affirmation, who are driven by impulse. This isn't because they are weak people. It's because they've never learned to take their thoughts captive. They've never trained their minds to stay focused, to resist lies, to dwell on what is right and pure. You don't become strong in the moment of crisis. You reveal what kind of training you've done in the quiet seasons. A trained mind is not immune to fear, but it doesn't bow to it. It's not void of emotion, but it doesn't let emotion lead. It knows the difference between truth and feeling. It knows how to pause before reacting. It knows how to push forward when every excuse is screaming for attention. A trained mind knows how to anchor itself when the storm comes, not because it's invincible, but because it's been through the process of discipline and resistance over and over again. The truth is, most people live as slaves to their thoughts without even realizing it. They assume that because a thought entered their mind, it must belong there. That because they feel a certain way, it must be valid. That every desire must be entertained. But the untrained mind doesn't question its patterns. It doesn't test its conclusions. It doesn't know how to guard what enters. It just absorbs, reacts, repeats. And that cycle leads to defeat. Slow, subtle, sometimes unnoticed until years have passed and regret takes hold. But the person who trains their mind begins to live differently. They stop letting the past dictate the present. They stop being pulled in every direction by distraction. They stop giving power to things that were meant to be resisted. They choose what they dwell on. They choose what they feed their thoughts with. They confront the lie and replace it with truth. Not once, not twice, but daily, intentionally, consistently, because they know that victory doesn't start in the bank account or the gym or the career. It starts in the mind. And if you lose there, nothing else will ever be enough. This is not about being perfect. It's about being prepared. It's about being prepared. It's about refusing to let your mind become a dumping ground for fear, bitterness, and compromise. It's about standing guard over your thoughts the way a soldier stands guard over a post, alert, ready, committed. Because the cost of an untrained mind is too high. It robs you of peace, clarity, purpose, and strength. And if you do not take control of your mind, someone or something else will. Daily mental training is non-negotiable. If you want a mind that is stable, focused, and resilient, then you must show up for it every single day. Every single day. Not just when life is calm, not just when you feel inspired, not just when it's convenient. Because your mind is being shaped all the time, whether you're aware of it or not. Every thought, every reaction, every moment of silence or distraction, it all adds up. And if you're not actively training your mind, then it's being trained by default through the chaos around you. Life doesn't pause so you can catch up. Temptation doesn't wait for you to be strong. Fear doesn't ask if now is a good time to show up. That's why daily training is essential. You don't sharpen a sword once and expect it to stay sharp. You don't build muscle by going to the gym once a month. The mind is no different. It must be engaged daily. Strengthened daily, disciplined daily, because each day brings a new set of challenges, a new wave of distractions, and a fresh attack on your focus. Too many people treat mental training like a last resort. They turn to it when they're already overwhelmed, when they've already made poor decisions, when they're deep in discouragement. But training is preventative. It's what prepares you before the storm hits. It's what gives you clarity when everything else is fog. When you train your mind daily, you don't just react to life. You lead yourself through it. You become proactive instead of passive. You become steady instead of scattered. Training your mind daily means making choices that others overlook. It means starting your morning with intention. It means turning off distractions when you'd rather scroll. It means speaking truth to yourself when lies feel more natural. It means taking time to reflect, to read, to pray, to reset. Not because it's easy, not because it always feels good, but because the cost of not doing it is far greater. A mind left unchecked becomes cluttered, chaotic, and anxious. But a mind trained daily becomes a fortress. Not perfect, but prepared. You must understand your mental state doesn't just affect you. It affects how you treat people. It affects the decisions you make, the risks you take, the habits you form, and the direction you follow. That's why this can't be a casual thing. You wouldn't go days without feeding your body, or cleaning your house, or showing up to work. Yet many go days, even weeks, without feeding their minds anything healthy or grounding. And then they wonder why everything feels off. The truth is, you're always training something. You're either training discipline or indulgence, focus or distraction, strength or passivity. And that training is happening in the small moments, the moments you think don't matter, the moment you hit snooze instead of getting up, the moment you reach for your phone instead of opening your journal, the moment you say, "I'll do it tomorrow" for the 10th time. These are not just habits, they are mental repetitions, and over time they build either resilience or regret. When you train your mind daily, you learn how to lead it instead of being led by it. You begin to recognize unhealthy patterns. You begin to challenge false beliefs. You begin to set boundaries around your focus and your time. You don't just float through the day hoping to stay on track. You define the track. You set your thoughts in alignment with your values, not your impulses. That's what training does. It doesn't eliminate struggle, but it gives you the tools to fight through it. Some days will feel strong. Other days you'll barely feel like you're making progress. But consistency is the goal, not perfection. Daily training means showing up even when you don't see immediate results. It's trusting that every time you choose what is hard over what is easy, what is right over what is familiar, what is necessary over what is comfortable, you are building something that cannot be taken from you. You are fortifying the one thing that determines everything else. Your mind. This is the kind of training that separates those who just survive from those who lead, influence, and endure. It doesn't require brilliance. It doesn't require special talent. It requires a decision to value your mental condition enough to give it daily attention, to guard it like your future depends on it, because it does. Every single day you train your mind, you are planting seeds of strength that will bear fruit in the seasons when you need it most. Thoughts must be taken captive and directed. If you do not lead your thoughts will lead you, and they will not lead you to strength, clarity, or peace. The mind left to itself does not drift toward discipline. It drifts toward fear, distraction, lust, bitterness, and defeat. That is why you cannot afford to let thoughts roam unchecked. They must be examined, challenged, and brought under control, not occasionally, not when life spirals out of control. Every day, every hour, sometimes every minute, because the thoughts you tolerate are the thoughts that shape your life. Most people assume that every thought that comes into their mind belongs there, that because they feel something strongly, it must be true, that because they've believed something for years, it must be valid. But truth is not determined by repetition or intensity. Some of the most destructive lies feel the most convincing. And unless you confront them, they will continue to operate in the background, quietly influencing how you see yourself, how you treat others, and how you respond to challenges. Taking a thought captive means refusing to give it authority until it has been tested. Just because a thought is loud doesn't mean it's right. Just because a memory triggers emotion doesn't mean it defines your identity. And just because fear rises up doesn't mean it should be obeyed. You must train yourself to pause and say, "Well, where did this thought come from? What is it producing in me? Is this true or is it simply familiar?" Because many people don't live out of truth, they live out of habit. And that habit started with a thought that was never challenged. You cannot overcome what you refuse to confront. And too often people hope that with time their mental battles will just fade, but time doesn't heal lies. Time doesn't silence shame. Time doesn't remove bitterness. Only truth does, and truth must be actively chosen. You must speak it, meditate on it, replace every lie with something greater. That is the work of taking thoughts captive. You don't just resist bad thoughts, you replace them, you redirect them. You say, "This is not who I am. This is not what I believe. This will not define me." A directed thought is like a soldier in formation. It has purpose. It is ordered. It knows where it belongs. That kind of thinking doesn't happen naturally. It must be trained. And just like training any soldier, it involves discipline, repetition, correction, and focus. You don't entertain every idea. You don't give time and energy to every opinion or emotion. You build a filter, a standard by which everything is measured. And if a thought doesn't line up with that standard, it doesn't stay. Period. This requires vigilance. The mind does not stay in order without effort. Every day the world throws noise your way, through media, conversations, memories, situations. And every day your own heart stirs up doubt, insecurity, pride, anger. That is why you must be the gatekeeper. You must be the watchman on the wall, alert to what is entering and ready to respond with clarity. You don't just let thoughts build momentum unchecked. You stop them early. You redirect them before they take root. Some thoughts are subtle. They don't scream. They whisper. They say you're not good enough. You'll always fail. And no one really cares. These thoughts seem small, but they are seeds. And seeds grow. They take root. They shape your posture, your confidence, your decisions. That's why this battle is so serious. This isn't about a positive thinking or empty motivation. This is about mental survival. It's about reclaiming the authority over your mind and choosing what gets to stay and what must go. And understand this. No one else can do this work for you. Others can encourage you, teach you, challenge you, but only you can choose what thoughts you feed and what thoughts you cast down. You must own this battle. You must stand guard. Because the thoughts you nurture will eventually speak through your words, shape your habits, and lead your life. You are not helpless in this. You are not a victim of your mind. You have the power, the responsibility, and the calling to take your thoughts captive and to lead them into truth.